for those who aren't familiar with DECA, it is a student-led organization that focuses on leadership, entrepreneurship, and career readiness. So our goal is to connect students with real-world experiences and help explore beyond the classroom. So this initiative, Career Talk, was created to give students the opportunity to hear from professionals from various fields, learn about their journeys, and gain insights into different careers. So today we're excited to announce the first theme, which is medical sciences, and have speakers who are taking their time to share their experiences with us. So once again, thank you for everyone for being here, and we'll begin with our first speaker. And do you want to, you can go first?
Sure. So is the microphone on?
Yeah, it's on.
This is where I get reprimanded from my kids who suggested I ought to have had a presentation, which I do not. But I'm Andrew Mendelson. I'm a lawyer, a practicing lawyer, and I'm also a pharmacist, and I maintain my licensure to practice pharmacy. And maybe just I'll tell you how I got to where I am. And I went through the public school system in Toronto, and many of the local schools that you'll be well familiar with, like Winfields and York Mills, and I was in French immersion as well. And at that time, it was grade 13. Was not a huge fan of the high school experience, although I'm sure LCA DECA is much better for you. But I really did not enjoy the high school experience, so I really rushed to get out of there. So I did grade 12 and 13 together. And I did that because I knew that I was going to go study in the United States. I did not apply to any of the local universities. And that's because I had an older brother that was studying pharmacy in Boston. And my parents said, Andrew, as long as you don't know what it is that you want to do, and I'm sure many students have no clue what they want to do, and career paths can change, but it was presented to me by my parents, and they said, you must get a professional degree. I don't care what it is, whether it's engineering or pharmacy, you're gonna get a professional degree, because then you can get a job. And if you can get a job, you're good. If you choose that you do not want to work in that capacity, then you're welcome to go back to school and do whatever you want. And my parents had a mantra that they, particularly my father, that shared with me many times. And that was, if you finish high school, you can drive a garbage truck. You go to university, you might be able to own a garbage truck. But ultimately, the sense of that was, and he wasn't demeaning the work of, a garbage man or a garbage woman. What he was saying is, it depends on what you aspire to be. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but the opportunity to go to the United States and study in Boston was particularly attractive as an 18-year-old. So I completed all of my high school requirements in the event that I ultimately decided to move back to Canada. And I went to Boston for a 5-year program in pharmacy. And it was an absolutely phenomenal experience. I was very good at math and science in high school, and really enjoyed the experience and the freedom of being away from family and having an opportunity to meet new people. So I studied pharmacy for 5 years. I had an opportunity to, at that time, you would graduate and you would get a degree in pharmacy. But you had an opportunity, they just implemented it for an additional year. I could have jumped into a PharmD program, which was essentially a doctorate of pharmacy. And that now is an entry-level pharmacy degree in Canada and many places in the United States as well. I had, like many science students, also considered medicine, and certainly can let the doctors just speak to those experiences. I contemplated medicine when I was in my 4th year of pharmacy. And ultimately, after having spoken with some doctors, particularly those practicing in Ontario, they weren't particularly enthusiastic, and perhaps that experience has changed. But I wanted to go on after pharmacy, and I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do. And I considered a number of different things, but I thought, well, what about law? We didn't have any lawyers in my family, really nothing about it. So I decided to give it a go. And if I did not like law school, It was fantastic because I could simply drop out and work as a pharmacist, because that's ultimately what I grew up with. I had a degree, graduated with a degree that would give me, you know, a good salary as a 23-year-old pharmacist. So I figured, you know what, I'll go into law and I'll give it a shot. Went into law school and absolutely loved it. Many people do not enjoy the law school experience because it's a lot of work. It's certainly for somebody coming from a scientific discipline, it's a little bit more challenging because I think the learning is different, the mentality is different. But I went into it with an open mind and decided I'm going to give it my best shot. And that, I think, with anything, is probably the thing that is most likely to, you know, set you apart from other people, is having an open mind and a willingness to learn, and you put your best foot forward. So I did law school, and that was a 3-year program. And I also did that in Boston. And after that, when I graduated from law school, looking around the audience, I'm not sure I want to give the year, but I graduated law school in 2003. And it was a very, very bad job market when I graduated. A lot of law schools in Boston proper, the jobs simply were not there at the time. It was simply a bad state of the economy. So I needed to figure out what I should do. And, you know, naturally, well, I could work as a pharmacist. Did I want to do that? Not really. Wanted to practice law. But I figured it was an opportune time to get my licensing in Canada. A lot of professional degrees, if you study abroad, sometimes it's very difficult to come back to practice in Canada. So I looked into what was required and ultimately figured out that I could come back. I took the licensing exams for pharmacy. Thankfully passed them on the first try, which was you know, quite happy to do that. And then I was also required, well, actually options were available to me. I could go back to law school to complete a year of law school in a Canadian program, or I could take some exams. And I was required to take 5 exams if I chose to go that route. I did not want to go back to school. As much as I enjoyed it, it was quite challenging. And I wanted to get my law license so I could practice as quickly as possible. So I took 5 exams. I actually had to write a letter to the Law Society absolving them of any liability. This is typical lawyer fashion. I mean, if you're going to take on some risk, even, you know, the lawyers that are ultimately responsible for licensure want to make sure you're not going to sue them for potentially failing an exam. So I had to do that because the maximum that they would allow in one sitting was 4, and I wanted 5. Said, yeah, I'll sign your form, whatever. Signed it, completed 5 law exams, Canadian law exams, within, I think it was a 2-week period. Thankfully, passed those. A lot of people did not, because you got people coming from all over the world who obtained their law diplomas from many different, you know, countries, not simply the United States. I think the success rate for people coming from the U.S. was substantially higher, and thankfully I was among that group. So I got my law license here, and then I had to complete articling, which it was required of all graduating law students, which was a 10-month internship, really, you know, under the supervision of licensed lawyers. More recently, that has changed. There is, I think, one school, which is Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson. I think they really took the Law Society of Ontario to task because some kids, well, many students were not able to secure articling positions. And it was even that much harder to find paid articling positions. So that's a problem when you graduate school and you can't complete the licensing requirements. So the Law Society changed those requirements, and now I think you can get some of that internship done while you're in law school. So anyway, I completed my articling period fairly surprisingly, because I was off track from all of the other Canadian students, which is somewhat important if you are thinking about studying abroad. When you're coming back, obviously you want to jump right back into the same system as the majority of other students. And I had difficulty finding an articling position, like many of the Canadian students, because those positions had already been secured a year in advance. So I sent out my resume to many law firms, had some offers, but they weren't ideal. One, for example, one would be, well, we'll give you a 3-month trial. Well, that's no good because I need 10 months, right? So I didn't want to run that risk. And other firms said, well, we'll hire you for next year. That's not good because I want to get my license, I need to earn money. So I was quite pleased to get an articling period at McCarthy-Tétrault, which is one of the largest law firms in the country. And I did my 10-month articling there. It was a phenomenal experience. I spent 8 of those 10 months in intellectual property, and particularly pharmaceutical patent litigation. Having the pharmacy background certainly helped because I was able to meld both the science and the legal backgrounds together. And following articling, I worked at McCarthy's for a few years. It's pretty cutthroat working in a large firm. You don't have much time. You got to be prepared to really work. But I knew very early on I did not want the large firm experience. It was certainly great to have, but I didn't want to continue to do. So I moved to an intellectual property boutique firm, the largest in the country, Smart & Bigger. And I spent 11 years there, and again, primarily focusing on pharmaceutical patent litigation, and very high level. What that is, we were ultimately tasked with defending large pharmaceutical companies, innovative pharmaceutical companies. Bayer is one of them. Bayer aspirin, you may have heard of. I currently work for Bayer now, but during that time I was defending these companies. We were trying to maintain their patent monopolies, and patents ultimately allow a company to maintain market exclusivity, free of competition. There's great debate about, about specifically that, but that's what we were tasked to do, and I really enjoyed it. I'd be in court defending these patents, and I loved the trial experience, and did that for a number of years. But then, creativity, got stalled, and kind of got a little bored doing that. So I left that, took a chance, and then delved into something completely different, and I started up an online platform, and just took a risk. Didn't work out, but certainly better for that. And then I decided, I wanted to go work for the drug industry. And I've been with Bayer Pharmaceuticals for now 4 years, and I'm one of their in-house lawyers. And I've got a great variety of work that I do for the company. I'm responsible for litigation, product liability litigation. So if something goes wrong with the drug and patients get harmed, I'm responsible for that litigation. Also have responsibility for pharmaceutical patent litigation, pharmaceutical marketing and advertising, licensing, clinical research and development. So I help the business move forward with their initiatives. And I provide them with a lot of support, and it's a fantastic experience. And I would certainly commend anybody that has an interest in the medical sciences, whether or not that's pharmacy, medicine, nursing, to be open-minded, because simply because you're thinking about pursuing something doesn't mean that's what you're going to end up doing. And thankfully, it's a fantastic way to open up the door to pursue many different things that you might be interested in. And one thing that I'm practicing right now, and I've got responsibility for, which I frankly never thought that I would, because I'm not a techie, I'm not good with that area, but I'm learning a great deal about artificial intelligence and how that's used in pharmaceutical drug development. And the business is also really taking advantage of those developments. And I love being involved in an industry that really seizes the opportunity and takes initiative and puts, money where their mouth is. And that's really trying to better, the patients. And in Canada, that's somewhat difficult to do given the current political climate and money. But it's fantastic to know that you're instrumental in helping bring a drug to Canadian patients. So I'll leave it at that, but that's just a high-level overview, and really thrilled to be here. I applaud DECA and all of you students for coming to attend this. I think it's fantastic to see certainly students that are interested, but it's taking the initiative and getting up on a Saturday morning to attend something like this that really separates you from many of your colleagues. And it's an incredibly competitive field. I'm involved with hiring at my company for law students. Prior to that, I was involved in hiring for the law firms that I worked with. And the caliber of students nowadays is absolutely phenomenal. And I often say that if I had to find a job today, competing against the likes of you, coming from fantastic scholastic programs, it would be incredibly challenging. It's not going to be an easy path for any of you, but certainly you're putting yourselves in a great position by being mentored and developed by teachers that actually are interested in you and your futures, and you're really off to a great start. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mendelson, for such an insightful story. Next, we can have Dr. Yolanda come up.
Hello, my name is Yolanda Neal. A presentation is coming, so I would like to say thank you to my son Theodore, who is my little tech wizard. He's in grade 6. Let's do that. He helped me with my presentation today. So today we're talking about, for me, I'm talking about being a family doctor because that's my job. So I am a family physician. I work at a number of places. My main job is at Scarborough Center for Health and Communities, which is a community health center where I work in a clinic. Oh, which one? Oh. And then my other job is I work at a group home for adults with intellectual disabilities. So I'm their in-house doctor. I go there every other week. And I also work at a small participation house. And I also work at Story Place, which is a developmental service agency. So what they do is they help people with intellectual disabilities to access services and resources, and I provide family medicine consults there and some teaching. Okay. So my work week has a lot of variety because I do a lot of different things. So I think variety is the spice of life. So you can see that sometimes I'm in clinic. I think most of my time is in clinic. Or at the computer doing paperwork. But the rest of the time I do teaching. So you can see some slides where I'm doing presentations. I'll teach other family doctors. I teach medical students or residents, medical residents. I also have a resident in our clinic that I'm a teacher for. So this resident will graduate soon and is going to become a family doctor. And then also, at the bottom, I have a couple pictures of a picnic. So I run a workshop with like a therapy group, and we have an annual picnic, and it's really very wonderful to see people getting together and building a little community. And it's people who are having a lot of struggles and issues in the past, but now are so happy to have each other. And it's nice to do that type of community building as part of my job, which is very wonderful. Okay, so the academic foundation for preparing for medical education. So I did, you have to get an undergraduate degree. So I did an undergraduate degree in life sciences. I went to Queen's University. And then after I also, when I was at Queen's, I did a little extra training because I wanted to get some research experience. So I did a specialization in systems neuroscience, so I could do some neuroscience research. And it was actually, I think you have to have the right crowd, but I thought it was really fun. But we were studying about decision making, and I was working in a lab looking at eye movements and people playing a video game and eye movements. And then I also, while I was preparing, I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor. I was one of those people. So when I was preparing for my medical school application, I was aware how important extracurriculars are. I did some volunteering, so I volunteered at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehab, and I think that was my best opportunity. Otherwise, I kind of did other things that were interesting to me. So I was a campus tour guide at Queens. I also worked at the coffee shop there, but I guess that doesn't go in this resume. I worked in a group that was similar to this. It was Queens students interested in medical sciences, which is just a bunch of like really keen students who really wanted to become physicians. And then I also would say, if you're thinking about medicine, think about MCAT prep. So MCAT is the exam that you would take prior to going into medical school, right? You have to have certain scores to get into medical school. So I think it is a good idea to do some sort of preparatory course to help you if you can. I did one, and I think it was really helpful. Then I went to medical school. So I went to Albany Medical School in upstate New York. I think, as you know, it's competitive. It's difficult to get into medical school. Who knows if things are going to change in the next few years, right? But I applied not only in Canada, but I also applied in kind of like a radius. I made a circle around Toronto and did it that way. So I also applied in the United States. Albany Medical College is, at the time, was under the same kind of governing body as Canadian medical schools, so it was easier to come back, as you were talking about traveling across the border. Anyway, while I was there, I had a lot of really interesting experiences that I think shaped what kind of family doctor I am now. So I did some work with underserved populations. I actually did an elective while I was in medical school at the place where I work now. So I was a medical student at what used to be called West Hill Community Health Center, which is now Scarborough Center for Health and Communities. So they knew me, so it was easy to come back and start working. And I also, I did some electives in developmental pediatrics because at first I thought I would love to be a pediatrician because I love kids and I love being playful in clinic. But I also realized as I was doing that elective that sometimes we were trying to do a lot of things to help kids, like their interventions, but it was really a family issue or a family problem that needed to be addressed, or the parents have something or they're not well and that's what needs to be taken care of. So I realized that in my mind, the way I think, I'm a family doctor. So that's why I went in a different direction with my career path. And then I did residency, so I came back to Canada for residency. I did family medicine at Queen's University. And then after that, I did an extra year of training in the care of adults with developmental disabilities, which is one area that I really enjoyed. So what can you do now? I would say focus on your GPA. So you do have to have good grades to get into the undergraduate program and then into medical school. I would say choose wisely, so think about which program you're going to get into for your undergraduate degree. Make sure that whatever program you choose, because it's good to choose a program that you're interested in, absolutely, because you're going to get better grades and you'll be a more interesting person in general. But you should also think about what prerequisites you need to apply for medical school. So are you able to get those prerequisites if you choose a certain program? I'll give an example. A friend of mine in high school also wanted to go to medical school, and she chose a program that she chose kinesiology, and I chose life sciences. And kinesiology is a really neat degree. You learn a lot about the body. There's a lot of biology. There's a lot of overlap in the programming. But at her school, it was really hard to get some of the other prerequisite courses because she wasn't in that in the other program. So it was hard to sign up for things like physics, which she needed to apply for medical school. So you have to kind of ask around and find out, is it easy to get into all of the prerequisite courses that you need? I know other people who have also done, even arts degrees like music. That's really, I think that amazing, but you have to make sure that you can still get all the things that the med school wants. Because a lot of the schools have a list of courses that they like. Some schools do not. You should go onto the OMSAS website because they have the exact prerequisites for the schools. Some of them just want you to have a full course load, but some of them want you to have specific classes. And build your profile. So when you apply for medical school, you have to have reference letters. And I was helping with admissions in the past. When they're looking at your reference letters, they'd like someone who knows you well, and someone, and it would even, a bonus would be if it's in something that is relevant to medicine. So, you can get a really great reference letter from someone who's watched you grow up and knows you very well on your street. But it would be even better if you got an amazing reference letter from someone who worked in, where you worked in the research lab, and they saw you where they know what you, how you think, and how you, work in a group, and they know a lot. They can speak to what you do. I would say, if I'm reflecting on my reference letters, I'll tell you the truth. I think I had one really good one, because of the systems neuroscience lab, okay? I think, because I knew that person very well. I had one that was okay, because I volunteered at the hospital, and I was just like, I know that I need to be like in a hospital and do clinic stuff, but I didn't, I think I met that doctor maybe twice, maybe 3 times. I was working in the department, but I don't think we really interacted very much. So when I asked for the letter, they were like, I don't know, but they said, okay. But it was probably a very generic letter. At least it showed that I was doing a particular experience, but I don't think it was a strong letter. And then I think my last letter was from maybe a teacher or something like that. I can't remember the last one, but they knew me well. So that was probably a strong letter as well. Challenges, so, undergrad can be difficult. I had some really tough courses. I think everybody always says the same courses, but for me it was organic chemistry. Oh my gosh, it's a killer. It makes sense for like a couple weeks, and then it just stops making sense. So I don't know, just to me. Biochemistry was also very challenging for me, but I had lots of courses that I really enjoyed, and so you just have to be aware that everybody's having a difficult time, and you just have to make it through these classes and try and get the best grade as you can, and maybe get help from others who understand. I had some difficulty with MCAT, so actually I did well on my first round of the MCAT, but I had one section where I had a 1 point lower score than the cutoffs for a lot of the medical schools. So if I was being realistic, maybe I would have not wasted so much energy in applying for those schools because they had a cutoff. It's like a hard cutoff, or maybe had a plan to redo my MCAT the next year. It was hard for me to get into some of these volunteer opportunities and clinical placements. I was really aggressive. Like I went everywhere, and I pushed. So that's how I got my volunteer opportunities. But I didn't know anybody. Some people have family members who are physicians, or they can ask their neighbors something. But not everybody, so I didn't know anyone. I had to figure it out myself or apply in general pathways. It was really difficult. Honestly, I think I'm still waiting for Markham Stouffville Hospital to tell me what happened to my volunteer application. So you just have to keep trying and think outside the box. All of Orphe was really thinking outside the box for me, and it's completely changed my career path. So find something that you enjoy doing. And then my strengths, as I said, I'm very persistent. I do things that are more than science, so I really like theater. I did drama when I was at Queen's, and I was in some shows and stuff like that, just like keeping my life interesting. And what did I wish I knew in high school? Reality check. I wish that, I think it's okay for people to give you advice and tell you, you need to have certain grades, or you need to have a certain cutoff, or whatever. But I think I also needed to be rely on my persistence and ask the right questions. So when you get advice, try to think, are they giving me the advice that I'm asking for? I'll give an example. I went to see a guidance counselor at Queen's when I was trying to get into medical school. And the guidance counselor said, well, you cannot be a doctor. That was the advice. Well, if you look at, your MCAT score and, the overall GPA is pretty good, but you will not be a doctor. So I was upset. I was like, she's like, why are you crying? And I said, because that's what I want to do. I want to be a doctor. And she was so confused. She didn't know how to approach it. She was like, maybe you should be a speech pathologist. Like, she was like throwing out careers. But what I was asking her was, how can I access medical school? So what avenues would I need to take? And then she can help me decide whether that is something that is worth it or not, right? Like, for me, at that time, what she was really saying was, with this MCAT score, you will not get into these medical schools in Canada, so your chances are small. Maybe you should do your MCAT again, or that's the kind of advice I needed. Like, do your MCAT over, or go to med schools outside of Canada, or go abroad. So I think I just needed to recognize that what kind of advice I was receiving, and then move from there. And just focus on your goals. So if you have a specific goal, you can go for it. Just remember also though, a degree like life sciences can take you in a lot of different directions. And that's not bad either. Maybe while you're there, you'll realize that you really love pharmacy. One of my friends is a pharmacist. I have a friend who's an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist. So, you have to keep your mind a little bit open. And remember, this was the best advice I got from someone. They said, you only need to get into one medical school. So I got 11 rejection letters in one day, which was really hard. And I don't know if it was like a postal backup or something, but I got all at once. And I was so upset. And then they said, you only need to get into one medical school. And that's the truth, right? I am a doctor. And set your goals, and then go for them. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leo, for sharing your story. Next, come join me in welcoming Mr. Marcus Alsell.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say thanks to DECA. Thanks to DECA and the staff working hard for giving this opportunity. Just like you guys, I'm learning a lot from the doctors and lawyers here. So I think it's important to take this opportunity to give appreciation to them as well. So today I bring a little different than just your typical career path. I never had a straight path, everything was zigzag. I failed the law, just like Dr. Lee said, 11 injections in one day, that's a lot to take, but she kept pushing forward, kept pushing. So I'm just gonna bring a mix of entrepreneurship, a mix of career life, and a mix of failures, right? Can't really see the screen here. Alright, so who I am. Let's see, it's a little fancy. Alright, so just like everybody, I didn't know what to do. I had to experiment and figure out what I wanted to do. So at some point I said, let's see what are my hobbies. Some of my hobbies were in nursing, some of them were in engineering, some of them were in math and entrepreneurship. When I say entrepreneurship, I realized I might have that potential when I was in 11th grade. There were some computer science projects. I did it a lot faster and a lot earlier than a lot of my friends. So they're asking me a bunch of questions, so I figured, okay, let me do your project for this computer science or IT class, and you do my other homework, right? So that's how it started. And I ended up selling some of these projects. I don't encourage that to everybody. And I got caught at the end, right? I got caught that I was selling it, but I had some ways to get around it, but don't do that. But again, it's important to figure out what are your hobbies, what are your interests. So I didn't know at the time, so I was experimenting. It's basically throwing a dart and then hoping that something lands and going from there, right? So before that, when I was in 12th grade, I figured, let me experiment and at least spend a year or two in trying to figure out what program I want. So I did 1 semester of nursing, I did 1 semester of biomedical engineering, I did 1 semester of computer science, and I did 1 semester of electrical engineering. I did it consecutively, all including the summers, so I was trying to figure out what's the best thing for me and what my passions are. So I landed in nursing and electrical engineering, so it was between the two. And I'll be honest, I kid you not, I flipped a coin, and if it landed in nursing or electrical engineering, I was going to go with that. And I landed in electrical engineering, so I figured, I guess that's my calling. I applied for a bunch of universities. At that time, my parents were not privileged to pay for my tuition and this and that, so I went with the best university that gave me the most money. And that was the only thing. I was like, okay, I don't want to get any loans and any OSAP. So I went with the one that gave me the most money, and then they could give me full scholarship for the first year if I maintained my average. And then I did co-op and a double major at Lakehead University. So just to say, like, as you can see, I changed my career 4 times before the age of 25. Yeah, I wasted a year or 2 just changing my careers, but I wanted to see like what is best for me, and that would be my advice. Figure out, take your time. It might take you a year, it might take you 5 years. Figure out what's best for you, and hopefully that works out. You'll never know. Maybe you would change your path at age 30. Maybe you would change it later, but I'm sure you guys can also confirm that it's better to try figuring out what you want instead of just being unhappy in something you want to do, right? So I did everything by the books. I did co-ops at TTC, I did Go Transit, I worked at GFL. I did everything by the book. When I was at TTC and Go Transit, I was labeled as the yapper. I wasn't really working, I was just talking to people, making connections, just to figure out, like, are they really happy at their job? Do they go to work excited? Do they leave work excited? Or is it, oh, it's 5 o'clock, and you just hang up this call and leave, right? So I wanted to figure out and understand their life. Do they commute a lot? Do they enjoy spending time with their coworkers? What is their work environment? So I had that skill where I was just yapping. And obviously I was getting my work done, don't get me wrong, but I also wanted to figure out on a personal level, like, is this where I want to be? Is TTC the right place? Is Go Transit the right place? Is, for example, OPG the right place, right? So I wanted to figure out by just talking to them, getting to know on a personal level, and then asking them for advice, right? So a lot of them were taken back by, like, oh, why is this guy that's doing internship asking for me for life advice? But I guess that was my personality. My personality was just to make that connection, make that establishment, and see that that's where I wanted to be, right? So I did everything by the book, followed everything, did internship, everything was secured, and I graduated December 2019, and I had a job lined up. I was going to start in April 2020, and then COVID hit, obviously, and when COVID hit, they extended the start date from April to July, and then from July, they moved it to December, and then from December, they moved it to next March. So that would be almost a year of unemployment, right? So at that point, okay, I told myself, I'm not gonna stay at home. I need to do something, right? A lot of my friends were like, taking some courses, building websites, which was good. I was also doing that. But I figured, let me do something real life, right? So I started experimenting in entrepreneurship. I'm going to my neighbor's house. Hey, do you need your lawn done? Do you want to get this done? Do you want to get this done? So by just trying out and experimenting with different things, I met this guy named Johnny. If you guys look at him, he just looks like a regular guy, drives like a regular car, but he has multiple buildings downtown Toronto. So that opened my eyes, saying, okay, how did he get to that point? What was his path? So by just having a conversation with him, all I did was spend some time with him, 2 to 3 hours at a coffee shop, and just getting to know him. I didn't do anything. So I built that human connection, that human interaction that it's missing these days. A lot of people are, again, I'm part of that too. We spend a lot of time on our phone, we spend a lot of time on not building that connection, but because I was just sitting down and having connection, and just talking to him, like, hey, how was your day? What'd you get up to? Where are your kids? How come they're not spending time with you? Just building that human element. He gave me a lot of advice. He gave me a lot of advice. He gave me some connections to make, and that's how I started like a business. I'll get to that in a second. Let's see what I wrote down here. So today, I run 3 different businesses. Again, when I was doing my internship, when I was doing my co-op, I never once thought I'd be running business. I just thought, okay, go to work, come home, and then enjoy life, right? Business obviously is not for everybody. It was never for me. I just landed in that. Again, I landed because I was just yapping. I was talking to people. I was making that connection. I was figuring out, okay, what is this guy doing that is making him happy, and what is this person doing that is not making them happy, right? I'm sure you guys can confirm they have a different path, a different way of doing it, but that's what worked for me, and I'm here to share what worked for me, right? So, because of Johnny, I met a lot of people, and that was done because of me just talking to him, asking him about his day, what is he up to? He was a little older, so he needed a ride, so I would pick him up, I would drop him off. Just doing small things, and I wasn't asking for money, I wasn't doing anything, I was just doing it from the kindness, right? And he gave me that huge encouragement, and he gave me that huge connection. So I run 3 different businesses. One of them, we specialize in medical devices. I'm sure, Andrew, you work with Health Canada a lot. Anybody here has family in Health Canada? Okay, thank God. I personally don't like working with Health Canada. It is one of the hardest things to do, get any paperwork, get any regulation, get anything certified. And I've had so many issues with them. One of them being, because they're currently understaffed, you can only send 1 email, 1 inquiry at a time, right? And if you keep resending email, you're going to be up in the list, so they will respond to you later. So I figured, okay, I'll send my 1 email, and they have a hotline, and I was calling every single day for 3 weeks, asking status update on my application, status update on my application, status update. And then to a point, the guy was like, okay, you've called for 3 weeks, and I recognize your voice, I recognize your application number. Let me just push forward your application. So this goes to show like perseverance, sometimes it works. But that was one of the experience I have. So yeah, one of them, we specialize in medical devices. Specifically, if you guys are familiar with beauty face mask, that's classified as Class 2 medical device under Health Canada. Has to go through clinical testing and regulation. But it's not me doing it. I partner with a few board certified dermatologists and a few doctors. We work together as a team on this one. Again, how did I build that connection? It's just by me yapping and by me talking, by just having that real connection. Whenever I'm in like networking events like this, I never use my phone. I just try to have a conversation, build that connection, right? That's how we got it. The second one being sports nutrition. I work with Ethiopian long distance and short distance runners, and these are like world record orders. And we figured, okay, if these guys are breaking the world record by not using any sort of science and nutrition, how can we fill that gap just to give them maybe 5% better, 2% better in their performance? Again, same thing. I went straight up to some of the athletes, and I figured, okay, let's have a conversation. How's your day? What are you up to? How do you train? What do you guys do? What's missing to be better? What's missing? So that's how it started, and then he gave me the idea to build some sort of nutrition. So we built protein bars, and we have whey protein powders. And again, it wasn't just me, it's not my expertise, but I work with a pharmacist and a master's in nutrition. So the other thing is, again, by me yapping and me talking, I can also build a team around me. You can only get so much done by yourself, but if you work as a team, you can get a lot more done. So that's how I got in. And then the third one is education agent. Last year I enrolled into the Queen's program for RCIC. I'm sure you know RCIC, immigration. I'm not going to call myself a lawyer, immigration consultation. If I call myself a lawyer, Andrew's not going to be happy. So that's how I got in. So that one is a little unique. Through my friend, I was told that because he has connections in Ethiopia, he told me Ethiopia is looking to encourage the new generation, younger generation. He said, if you're building a hospital or some sort of education, reach out to them. They're willing to help you. And again, this is through connection. I got in touch with someone over there, and they told me, if you're building a high school or an education agent or some sort of hospital, they will give you the funding, they'll give you the land to build that. So that's the third business that I'm working on. Between the three, I would say the education agent is the most challenging and the hardest one. Only because I'm working on other people's timeline. I'm working on different regulations and different, there's also a language barrier as well. But I'm not going to bore you too much about the businesses. Yeah, so two of the products are, I think I mentioned before, Health Canada authorized or licensed by Health Canada, and one of them is FDA approved through the 510K process. Again, working with regulation, working with these agencies. It's not easy, it's not for everybody, but it needs that special personality where you just keep pushing, keep persisting, and then you can get things done. Next, I want to talk about, I think I talked about my journey. Yeah, so the part nobody talks about on Instagram and their social media. It's very important picking your partner in a sense where you spend a lot of your energy and your time, right? We all have very limited time in a day. We all have very limited time in a year. So it's very important to pick and choose. That you can have that conversation within the first 5 minutes. You will know, is this person going to be wasting your time? Is this going to be something useful? Is this going to be something maybe potentially useful in the future? You never know. It's very, very important to listen and just see where this conversation is going, and then always make a decision right away. Right? I didn't have this knowledge at that time because I picked the wrong partner, picked the wrong timing, and one of my business partner took away with a lot of money, roughly $20,000 in the business. But I figured that was just a lesson, and then I had to keep moving. So that gave me a good idea that it is important to be picky with the right person, picky with the person who you're dealing with, and don't. If you're sensing that this is going to be a waste of time, I think you should proceed with that, right? I'm sure you guys hear this a lot, yeah. So that's the one. Also lost a lot of money on products that never sold. But I could have just stopped at that point, right? I could have stopped saying, okay, I lost money, but just keep going forward. You will fail like 10 times, but the 11th time that's going to work, it's just going to change your projection. It's going to change your perspective on whether it's business or career, right? Let's see what I have here. Yeah, so all these failures that I had through the people that I met, could be through the failed products. It taught me a lot, and it's why I'm here today. Even during this DECA career talk, I learned a lot from Andrew, I learned a lot from Dr. Neil, and then hopefully I'm going to learn a lot from Doctor as well. So it's very, very important to be open-minded and learn from other people's mistakes and other people's failures. Let's see what I have. I know we're running out of time, so I'll be a little quicker. So one thing I encourage you guys as a homework is think of one thing that's in your neighborhood that you want to do. Could be fix something, it could be change something, it could be something you don't like in your neighborhood, it could be in another neighborhood. Just think of things to do, right? Sometimes you might have a reason to do certain things, sometimes you might not have a reason. It's okay to not have a reason, right? But the moral of the story is keep moving forward, do something, right? By doing something, you're gonna realize, okay, maybe this is for me, right? It's the same thing when I went from nursing to computer science to electrical engineering. I was trying to figure out, okay, is nursing for me? I love nursing. If I wasn't in nursing right now, I would be in a different position, right? Nursing was really fun for me, I liked it. But did I enjoy biomedical engineering? I did not. Did I enjoy computer science? Yeah, maybe for the money at that time I did, but there was no passion, right? So, take 30 seconds, even after this career talk, think about what you want to do. Experiment. I think that's the best thing to do. Always experiment, try something new, try something different. The hardest part is always figuring out what is your strength and what's your weakness. If you figure out your strengths, perfect. If not, it will take a little bit of time to try to figure that out. But once you know your weakness, I would recommend working on your weakness. I think that's one advice I would give: work on your weakness, right? And then that will show you like the true personality of you, and then you'll know like, okay, there's certain things you can handle, certain things you can't handle. By that point, then you'll know, okay, maybe business is for you, maybe being a doctor is for you, maybe being in nursing is for you, maybe investment is for you, right? So always try to figure out what are your strengths and weaknesses. And if you get a lot of no's, take those no's. No's are really, really good. I call them rejections, but rejections are redirection. They'll redirect you to the right path, right? Always try to ask, okay, why? If they say yes, why? If they say no, why, right? Try to understand it from the root cause. So I'll quickly talk about some of the businesses. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm more interested in sharing about my career, my path, and the journey that I took. One of them is LED face mask, as I mentioned earlier. It's Class 2 medical device license. This took me at least 7 months to get the licensing from Health Canada through the medical device license and medical device establishment license. Again, it wasn't fun working with Health Canada, but I took that as a challenge, and I took that personally. I figured if they are making it hard and challenging, there has to be a reason. And I took that personally, and every day I was calling them, asking them about status update, why is it taking so long? And eventually I got the licensing, and that was the best feeling. Once you get the licensing, then you'll know, like, if you have competitors, if you have other people that are interested in doing that, they would have to go through the same timeline as you, if not more, right? So it was good working with them. I also worked with Smart Bigger. You mentioned you work with them. They're really good for, as you mentioned, IP, patents, and that sort of stuff. They're the best. I had a positive experience working with them as opposed to obviously Health Canada. Let's see, so that was, I was experimenting on a lot of female products. That could be like makeup products, lip gloss, and this and that. A lot of them did not work out, only because the barrier to entry was low. You don't need any sort of licensing, any sort of this and that. Because the barrier to entry was easy, you can have a lot of competition. You can use that as like a life lesson in the sense where, as Dr. Neil mentioned, you only need to get into one medical school, right, to be a doctor. So that means there's a challenge to get in there, because the barrier to entry is really, very high, right? So if your passion is to be a doctor, whether it's for the money or whether it's to serve the community, you just need to do it once, right? And the barrier to entry, because it's really hard, and that means other people have to go through challenges, similar patterns. And yeah, if that's your passion, your doctor, for sure pursue it. But again, I figured out my passion at age 25, and I'm sure you guys are like between 15 to 18, so you still have a lot of time to figure that out, right? So the lesson is here, I wrote control your product. Again, I don't want to talk too much about business, but control your product is the same thing as control your journey. There's obviously a lot of things you can control, but as much as you can, whether it's through getting good grades or whether it's through making connections or volunteering, figure out what's best for you. For me, what worked was just talking. For me, what worked was just yapping and building that connection. But when I say I yap, I don't mean I talk over the other person, right? Means I'm just outgoing, extroverted, spoken, but I also listen, right? Listen, try to understand what the other person is saying, and you'll always learn a lot from someone else, right? Whether they're older than you, younger than you. The second product, I think I mentioned it earlier, is the protein bar, and this one is also Health Canada and FDA approved. We work directly with Ethiopian athletes to develop what they want. Right? Again, it's what they need, not what I want, what they need. They train hard in the morning. They train twice actually, one in the morning, one in the evening. But in between, do they rest? Do they exercise? Do they stretch? Do they do some physio? Or do they also focus on the nutrition? So again, luck is very, very important to have. But you build your own luck. You get that by knocking on doors, by trying, by experimenting. And obviously, I'm fortunate to be where I am, and I'm lucky for that. Yeah, I think I mentioned that we partner with Ethiopian athletes, world record holders. And I think I mentioned it earlier too. I straight up pushed the athletes to figure out what's best and what they needed. And that's the right way to do. I understand, like, not everybody has that personality where you can go out to someone and then start a conversation, right? So obviously it's not for everybody, but I'm here to share my journey. That's what worked for me, just going out to someone, starting a conversation, and be open-minded with that, right? The lesson here is, so ask the questions. The worst they can say is no, and no is my favorite thing, which is a rejection, and rejection is a redirection, as I mentioned earlier, right? The last one and my favorite one is the education agent I mentioned. I'm gonna hurry up, I'm running out of time, but the biggest lesson I guess with this one is the impact that you're gonna have, right? The impact on this one is because Ethiopian government needs doctors and entrepreneurs and this and that. I wanted to impact doctors in this and that and focus on like how we can get more doctors from Ethiopia, how we can get more entrepreneurs from Ethiopia, how we can get more nurses from Ethiopia. So everybody has an impact on life, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. Let's quickly go through, running out of time. As I was saying, I yap too much. The biggest one is communication, as I was saying, and problem solving, and confidence too. You can be shy and still confident. You can be confident and still be shy at the same time. Communication is important. Just try to have a conversation. Have that genuine human connection that's missing these days. And I think that will go a long way. Adaptability is very, very important. So for me, because I'm working, I have multiple businesses and I'm working with different regulations in different countries. I work on other people's timeline. So if I have a timeline for some things, and if I say by January 1st I need to get it done, it's always not going to be January 1st. So I work on other people's timeline. So I would have to continually adapt and change my timeline and go from there. All right, let's quickly hurry up. Advice is, let's see. Yeah, I think I mentioned I lost my partner. You guys can say I was scammed, but that's okay. I lost a lot of money on that one. The failures that I had with other products helped me build this medical device and the nutrition that I was talking about. What did I write over there? Yeah, okay. I don't know why I wrote that, to be honest. But yeah, my biggest advice to everybody is you don't want to avoid failure. I think I mentioned about getting no and using that redirection. So that's the most important thing. All right, let's see. So yeah, my final thought is you don't have to follow one path. What worked for me is again going from different field, different studies, and just to figure out what's best for you. You can always change something if it doesn't work out for you. So always experiment, always keep trying. That's my biggest advice. Start now for sure, depending on what you want to do, but just do something, right? It doesn't have to be all planned out. It doesn't have to be. You don't need to be stuck in analysis paralysis. Just do something right now, and then you'll figure if that's for you or not, right? And then that's a motivation line that I have from ChatGPT, if I'm being honest. The path shows up. All you have to do is keep knocking on the door, and then the journey will open up. But I'm gonna conclude everything here. We're gonna be in the panel if you guys want to ask questions. But thank you so much for your time, and sorry for being late.
Thank you so much, Mr. Russell. Now we have one last speaker, Dr. Koa, and after this there's going to be food and drinks, so yeah, please welcome Dr. Koa.
My name is Koa. I'm Simone's papa, and I'm a physician. Okay, so my background education is like this. I did my undergraduate at Master in Natural Science and medical school at Queen's University. And after that, I went back to Hamilton to do specialty training. I got two certificates. One is in internal medicine, 4 years it took, and the other one is intensive care. After I graduated, I got employed at Hamilton General Hospital as a intensive care assistant. Then I moved to Scarborough and worked as an intensivist as well as internist. So it goes like this. You do a week of intensive care, and then after that you have a few days off, and then internal medicine. But let me describe these terms. Intensive care is a specialty that cares for people who are on life support. For example, you walk on the street and someone just collapsed, and you do CPR. That person will be brought to intensive care. They can't breathe, they can't, pulse is lost. We care for those people, we revive them. Internal medicine is like this. You know how you have a heart problem, and you go see a heart doctor. Lung problem, see a lung doctor. But there are diseases that affect multiple organs, or diseases that are, we don't know why the person is sick. It's mysterious. That's our specialty. Then after Scarborough Hospital, I moved to Markham Studio Hospital. Initially, I worked as a chief of intensive care department, but after this girl was born, I got too busy, and then I quit. So now just keep crying all day. Anyway, the turning point for me is like this. I got unemployed. I was born in Vietnam and grew up in a very, very poor family. My father died when I was 7, and mom was a teacher, and she had to raise 6 of us. She only had money to afford meat for us 3 times a month. And some month there was problem with getting enough rice in. Then after finishing high school, I worked as a fisherman in the harbor. Then I made a trip to escape Vietnam. I got caught, and then I got jailed for 6 months in Vietnam. So nothing to be proud of. But when I landed in Canada, I was in Quebec because at the time I spoke more French than English. I landed in Quebec, and I worked as a tour guide to drive people on the boat to see the belugas. But I came around April, and then by like September or October, it was too cold up there. I moved to Hamilton, and it's funny, at that time, I went to immigration office, and I said, "Ma'am, I'd like to have permission to go to Ontario." And she looked at me, "Permission?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "You just buy a ticket and you go." And you know, I went down there, and I was paid to learn French up there. But when I went to Hamilton, they called me again. They said, you know, "How come you're not in school?" I said, "What school?" I said, "English school." But I said, "I did French up there." But let me tell you, the minimum pay was $3.50, no, $3.75 at that time. Now it's like $18, right? At that time it was only $3.75 an hour. But a pound of meat was, I got paid, I got paid almost $4. And I wrote to my mother. I said that, "You know what, Mom, you know, a pound of meat is only $4.50. So I can buy meat to eat every day." And she said, "No, I don't believe that." I said, "No, it's true, because I was sponsored by the government, the federal government and the Quebec government, so that's why." But anyway, after finishing English and French courses, the government invested in us, allow us to learn the languages so that we can get a job. I couldn't get a job because, you know, I remember exactly the location of McDonald's shop that I wanted to work. But it wasn't like that. You know, in those days, you go and order, the cashier wouldn't type it in the computer. There was no computer at that time. She would speak and do it at the back. You have to be able to hear what she said, and then you order. But I didn't have enough English. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get any job. But then I figured, you know, I was a gifted student in Vietnam, so I said, you know, let's go back to school. So that was my turning point. I went back to, I did get, I went to McMaster, and during the school, I did get jobs, odd jobs, like I was a janitor for a mall in front of my apartment. And I worked in a farmer's market. I cleaned fish, and because I knew all the type of fish. I used to be a fisherman, you see. Anyway, so that's my turning point. But the challenges that you folks should learn is that, just like Dr. Neil said, you know, you gotta select the program, the undergraduate program that would best prepare you for the MCAT and the prerequisites for medical school. But not only that, you have to think about a plan B if you don't get it, right? Learn it from me. I didn't think about that. I just, bang, natural science, chemistry, you know. But luckily, I became a doctor. But now you should think about it. It's a very big commitment. You spend a lot of time studying, a lot of years in school. You better make a good living out of it, right? It's a big investment. So next is the grades. How good is a good GPA? To me, there was no such thing as a GPA that's good enough. No such thing. You gotta be the best. I was when I was in natural science, I thought, gee, I didn't have to go to classes because chemistry, physics, calculus was like, a level or two below what I learned in Vietnam already. I was gifted, and I didn't think it was difficult at all. I actually thought that it was a waste of time to go into to class to listen, because I could read it at home all by myself. The problem is that my problem was that I didn't have enough English. I didn't speak English. I didn't have enough money, and I lived in campus. Okay, so I got a lot of distractions from friends. Okay, they want me to go party, they wanted me to go play sports and all that. I had to study like 2 or 3 times more than an average kid did because of English. I didn't speak English. Volunteer, I just, extracurricular activities, I only volunteer. I have to work to earn my living. You'll see, that came up the medical interview. They asked me, how come you don't have any extracurricular activities? I said to the ladies, I'm all by myself. Like I'm alone in Canada. I had to earn a living. I came to Canada 87, 91. I got into medical school. 4 years it took me to learn English and to pass I did only 2 years of undergrad. At that time, you didn't have to do 4 years. If your marks were good, you can get in after 2 years. Okay, I was the top of my faculty. My marks were very good, but English was bottom. So when I went to medical school, I failed communication course. Communication, they teach you how to speak to patients, right? They teach you, I used to say, your belly. Okay, my teacher said to me, you don't say that to a female patient, you say tummy. That's one. I got problem with pronouncing drugs. I say trucks. Mr. McLeod, Mrs. McLeod, Mr. Stephen, Mr. Stefan. Because it's nothing good about my past. There's nothing. It was the dark time of my life. But somehow Queens gave me 2 interviews, and apparently they like that. They like the perseverance. They like the persistence. So they got me in. But now my life is like this. I work 10 to 12 hours a day. Sometimes 10 to 11 hours a day. I sculpt when I have time. That's my statue there. I practice piano. I wake up early, and then I repeat. But the work is like this. I work a lot, but when I'm there, I go home. I don't talk to mommy or the kids. I'm so tired. But you know what? The next day I come back, because you know why? I like what I'm doing. It's like a playing sport. You like hockey or you like bowling or something. You won't want to go home. You with your friends. You keep playing, but you get tired. The next day you go home and sleep, and the next day you're back. So the key thing is that you have to know what you're getting into. You can't just say that, I like to be a doctor. A lot of people think that they like to be a doctor, but they like the idea of being a doctor only. They don't like working as a doctor. It's stressful, it's a lot of work, right? So you have to keep that in mind. the industry is like that. They need a lot of doctors, man. Family doctors, you know. I got residents who graduate and they open a shop. People just coming in, register, full in no time. They need a lot of family doctors. And in the hospitals are getting more and more crowded. That means that they need more doctors in there. But there's a thing that you have to remember. You don't want to go into, there are certain fields that jobs are limited. For example, if you want to be a surgeon, for example, right? You're a surgeon. It may take you a long time to get a job. You know why? Because the surgeon, in the hospital there are 5 operating rooms. There's Dr. Smith, Dr. Jones, Dr. Lee. Each occupy a room. When you apply, they say no more room, ma'am. So you wanted to, but unlike family physician, you open a shop. They keep knocking on your door, saying, "Me too. I want to be your patient." Okay, I'm a hospital-based doctor. I don't need any equipments in the hospital. So every day I show up. The moment I sit down, there's tons of people for me to see. So you have to keep that in mind. Like if you specialize into, if you have any thought of being like a nephrologist the kidney doctors who need equipments in the hospital to dialyze patients, you may end up in a situation where there's no job for you. AI doesn't affect us. It hasn't, or it won't. I don't know, but so far I think the thing since AI becomes popular, my job is easier because I speak, it types. I talk to the patient, and it knows what I'm thinking. It generates a report, and here you go, ma'am. Here's your report, and it's sent to my patient, family, physician automatically. Okay. So when you go to this is what the government expects of us. They want us to be smart, advocate for healthcare, leader, collaborator, communicator, and professional. And I think that the medical schools, when they select you folks, they want you to show them that you have activities to demonstrate these as well. For example, you work as a activities like this, right? It's an example of collaborator, leadership, communicator, that kind of thing. You can, that kind of activities. So, to advise, I think, to me personally, I told you I was a gifted student in Vietnam, but I never credit my performance in school at all. To me, I credit my self-determination. I said, just like Dr. Neil said, stay focused, keep working, work hard, and think ahead. Right now, you come. The fact that you came here is already a good sign. You wanted to get advice from us. It's a good sign. But when you get to university and you wanted to do, let's say, a surgeon, for example, right? You got to think, okay, what do I do? What do I do to meet these criteria here, so that I can get accepted, that kind of thing. So you have to think many years advance. So that's the end of my advice.
I was their hard work. You guys all came on a Saturday morning, and I really appreciate that. And I hope everyone learned some new, insightful advice from everyone.